Welcome to the Radical Success Podcast, where we focus on internal transformation to experience external results. I'm your host and coach, Doreen Rainey. Join me each week for insightful messages and powerful interviews to equip you to take bold, courageous, and radical action to live the life you want and deserve.
It is Doreen Rainey, and welcome to our latest episode. I am thrilled that we have an incredible guest with us today. This woman I have known for, it has to be going on 6 or 7 years now, and I am so glad that she has come into my life. She is now a friend, a mentor, a peer, a just all around amazing woman. We have strategized together, masterminded together, traveled the world together, and have we got a message for you today. Let me tell you about this amazing woman. Patrice Washington is an award-winning author, transformational speaker, hope-restoring coach, and a media personality. She got her start as your favorite personal finance expert, America's money maven, and is now the CEO and founder of Redefining Wealth. In expanding her brand, she is encouraging women to chase purpose and not money. She is committed to redefining the word wealth and knowing now that that definition of wealth is really about well-being. Patrice has a community of high-achieving women committed to creating a powerful life vision in their careers, their home, their health, and their personal finance. And guess what? Patrice will be at the Get Radical Women's Conference, and we're going to be talking about wealth. We're going to be talking about well-being. We're going to be talking about accelerating success with the right mindset so that you can have an internal transformation for external results. Listen, you do not want to miss this event. You can go to getradicalconference.com and you have an option of securing your registration to join us live in the room in Atlanta, March 20th through 22nd. Or you can watch the entire conference online with our live stream registration, which is just $47. So you want to make your choice today. How will you join us for the Get Radical Women's Conference? And now, let me just, get this conversation going. So please help me welcome to the Radical Success Podcast, Patrice Washington. Hey, Patrice.
Hey, Doreen.
I am so excited to have you on our podcast today. We have been, friends, entrepreneur buddies, travel buddies for years, and everything about you just shines bright. And so I am excited that I get to have this conversation with you to our radical community about all the amazing things that you're doing, and all of the ways that you support people as they go out into this world and really create their best, most purpose-filled life. And I know that many people in our radical community are familiar with you. We've done events together. We've done tours.
Girl,
together, we've
if they don't know me at this point, like where have you been?
Right. But for the handful of people who may not be as familiar with you as we are, tell us a little bit about Patrice Washington, what you do and why you do what you do.
So a little bit about me. It started in 1981. No, I'm kidding. No, I wake up every day, as you know, with this burning desire to help redefine wealth for my generation. I, like many people, didn't grow up hearing much about money, having deliberate conversations about money. And therefore, when I made a lot of money coming straight out of college, having gotten a real estate license at 19 and became a real estate and mortgage broker at 21, built a 7-figure business by 25, I lost it all. in the recession. I went from that 7-figure business to scraping up change. And people will say, well, what was wrong with you? Like, you know, because we assume that education and information is everything. But what I now know is that I didn't necessarily have wisdom. And it didn't hit me that I didn't have wisdom, which is the application of knowledge, until I was at a breaking point and I was having my come to Jesus moment on the bathroom floor in an itty bitty apartment after my home foreclosed in California. And I sold everything on Craigslist in 2 days and moved cross country to this 600 square foot box of an apartment in Metairie, Louisiana. I had my moment, my defining moment. And it was one where I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I could not understand why everything that I touched just seemed to fall apart. And why, even though I have been known for my whole life as the person who knew how to fix stuff, I was the fixer, the one people would come to, why nothing I tried panned out into anything much, but more, it felt like destruction at the time. And I was like, God, why me? You know, I've been a good person. I treat people well. I do my best to operate in integrity. You know, Doreen knows me. We've had many a conversation about how do people sleep at night, you know?
Right. With
And
that,
you've taught me, you like, they sleep well, even when they're being wrong.
they sleep well. That integrity scale is a sliding scale.
It is a sliding scale. You've taught me that, you know, even still. But at the time, I was just like, I cannot understand. I'm a good person. How does all of this happen to someone who is a good person, like legit? And that turned into just asking God, why me? And then it was like a light cry. It was a polite cry. And then it turned into like the most impolite bawling, snotting session you've ever seen, you've ever heard. I'm sure my neighbors in that little apartment were like, what is happening over there? But in the midst of all that, I felt what I call the Holy Spirit say, get your Bible. I got my Bible and I ended up on a scripture, Proverbs 17:16, and it said, what good is money in the hands of a fool if they have no desire to seek wisdom? What good is money in the hands of a fool if they have no desire to seek wisdom? And that was the very first time it dawned on me that while I was smart, I was book smart, I was not the best at seeking wisdom, asking for help, seeking wise counsel. You know, I didn't understand anything about coaching and mentoring and all that stuff back then. I was the person who would wait until my back was all the way up against the wall to say, something's going on. Like, can you help me? I don't know what I don't know. And so from that experience, before then, I had a lot of passion for financial education. That was how I had built my real estate and mortgage brokerage. It was by going out and educating people. So I knew I was like good at that. I've always, every time I learned something, I've always been the type that wanted to pass it on and support other people. But the compassion that was built in that season, because you take a early 20-year-old making 6 figures and then 7 figures, you know, at 25, I literally didn't understand the hurt that would be behind people's questions like, well, how do I pay my bills? I'm like, what you mean, pay your bills, right? I didn't understand.
Right.
And I had to go through that season of applying for welfare, chasing the power man down, begging him to put the power back on or my baby's milk would spoil, you know, begging the daycare center at the corner to keep my child until I, you know, and they showed mercy. Oh my gosh, like I didn't have money half the time for her to be there. And yet this woman saw something in me and just supported me, the owner of the daycare. Like I had to go through all of those experiences in order to have compassion and to be who I am today. And so when I say that I wake up every day with this just like burning desire to support people through possibly some of their lowest financial times and just wanting to be a poster child for life after financial loss, and that you can rebuild, and that the way to rebuild is not always looking at the budget and looking at your credit report all day, because you have to do other things outside of that. You know, I really want to just shift more people's mindsets every day that this is possible for them.
Right. Right. And I love the idea. There's so many lessons in there that we could just break down into many episodes of a podcast. But there's so many nuggets, and I just want to pull out a few. So first of all, that you wake up every day and
I think that's a powerful statement, because everyone listening, when you wake up every day, you should wake up every day with a purpose, with a
Mm-hmm.
reason. And, I wake up every day to help people define success for themselves. When I was growing up, success wasn't talked about. A job was talked about,
Right.
right? Making a living was talked about. And to be able to expand people's capacity to what success could look like for them beyond a job, even if you have one, beyond, the norms of everyday living. And so having something
Mm-hmm.
to wake up to is a driver, right? It keeps you moving. Secondly, having built a 6-figure, 7-figure business, having experienced the revenue, the income of 6 figures and 7 figures, not just gross receipts, right? We're talking
Right.
money into the household, and losing it all. So there's experiences of loss. Every successful person, but however you define success, has experienced, I would say, catastrophic loss, like
I
financially,
think so.
or health, or family, or friends. And then to be able to bounce back from that, and bounce back from that from a place of faith,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not just rebuild,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
You're skilled enough. You could have rebuilt, right? Let the market turn around. Let me get back in the game. Let me do some more workshops. But that's rebuilding. But that's rebuilding not from a place of faith. It's from that place that caused the loss the first time.
Right. The thinking I know it all and thinking that education is everything,
Yeah.
because there are so many different points on this journey. So that bathroom floor moment was March of 2009. And there have been so many times on this 11-year journey where I was so frustrated that I wanted to just give up. Like, and I'm not the type of like, oh, I just give up type of person. That's not what it is. But there comes those points in time when you were like, God, am I even doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Should I be here right now? Did I hear you correctly? Maybe that was not your voice, right?
Right.
You have all of these seeds of doubt, and yet, I call them God winks. If we're open enough to receive the God winks, that email from someone that you weren't anticipating will be the thing, right, that keeps you
Yeah.
going, or
Yeah.
that DM, that comment, that new opportunity that someone advocated on your behalf. You didn't even know that there was a conversation going on with your name in it, right? Like those things come along, and I've learned, to stay, as Lisa Nichols taught me years ago, committed to the vision, but not attached to how I get there. And I
Yeah.
think the weariness comes when I become attached. Like
Yeah.
when I become attached to this is what it needs to look like,
Yeah.
instead of stay focused on the people and the impact, because as long as you keep showing up, you can be used.
Right.
Right. But the minute you get under these covers for too long, and I'm not saying you don't have moments where you need to, take care of yourself and take a step back and pause, and maybe I'm not going to do this or do that in this season, but it, that faith piece is what has built my career for sure, because it wasn't because I was the most fearless. It wasn't because I always had optimum confidence. It wasn't because I thought I was oh so smart, or it's none of that. It's this literally the faith tells me that nothing I've experienced happened to me, it happened for me, and all of these things are either a lesson or a blessing, and I'm supposed to embrace them and use what was learned and push forward anyway, because you have a purpose to accomplish every day that you wake up. So
Right. Right. And I hope you guys are picking up on this, is that your purpose, your impact is never about you. You get the benefit of it. You get the ancillary material things from it. You get lifestyle from it. You get a living from it. But ultimately, it's not about you.
mm-mm,
And getting that message of this is what you're called to be in this world.
mm-hmm,
Every journey, I think sometimes when we're talking about faith and people talk about the Bible, they kind of pedestal these people in the Bible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, wow, I wish I could be more. But everybody went through a journey in that process to have the impact.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get weary, it can get overwhelming, but remembering this is why I'm here. And this is why I wake up. And knowing
Yeah.
that it's all working for you, right?
Yeah.
Not against you, but for you. And taking those lessons, sometimes the wins, and continuing to move forward with your journey. And you and I have had several conversations around purpose and intention and impact and how to fully walk in that in a way that demonstrates our gifts and talents to the world, honors Him, God, and
Mm-hmm.
produces impact. And one of those conversations have been about the wall.
Yes.
The necessity of being on the wall
Mm-hmm.
and the results you can experience from being on the wall. And so share with our listeners what the wall is and why we've been so committed to the wall.
So we've been so committed to the wall because Doreen and I both heard the same sermon that was basically by Andy Stanley from, I go to North Point Community Church. And so he was talking about Nehemiah and the charge that Nehemiah had to go and rebuild the wall of Jerusalem because it had been devastated, right? So just think of a time in your life when everything has seemed to crumble and fall apart, and how embarrassing it can be, and how much, the shame, the guilt, and then how other people may come in and try to take advantage of that. And they think now that the wall is down, you have no boundaries. So they are just doing what they do, right? And imagine your life being in a season of just a bit of chaos and inconsistency and unknowing and just like not certain. So Nehemiah gets the charge. He leaves Egypt, I believe, or no, where he was in Persia, or he was with the King Xerxes or something. And so he goes to Jerusalem to build the wall. And so now he's galvanized the people, he's brought everything together, he's put a plan in place, and they are going to rebuild this wall and basically take their life back, right? Take their city back. And you know how it is though, when you get really focused on that plan and you're like, this is it. I'm building the wall. Like, I'm doing my thing. This is going to be the thing that honors God, takes me to the next level. And what happens? The haters come.
Yes, they come with a quickness. They're like,
They
oh,
come with the quickness.
what are you doing? You trying to
Right.
rebuild? You trying
Right.
to
What you think
together?
you're doing? Who do you think you are? Like, what? And the crazy part about it was some of those people were known enemies, but some of them he thought were friends who, when you really read the story, they were shady too, right? And trying to like distract him from his greatness, distract him from his purpose. And so there comes a point where Nehemiah's on the wall, and one of the messengers, if you will, comes and says, so and so wants to meet with you. And Nehemiah looks down from the wall and says, I am doing a great work, I cannot come down.
Yes.
I am doing a great work, I
Yes.
cannot come down.
Yes.
And boy, I tell you, when we heard that, Doreen and I were like, did you hear that? Right? I am doing a great work. And it just speaks to, you start out the new year with all these goals and this stuff that you say you want to do in any area of your life. And then the first person, friend, family, foe, that comes over and has another idea or has something else you should do, or they want you to help them, support them, take a look at this, do that, you get distracted.
Right.
And you come off the wall. And if you're an entrepreneur, you don't even need anyone else. You can take a shower like I do, or drive down the street like I do. I could be minding my business and have 16 ideas.
Yes.
And be
boom,
tempted.
I'm off the wall.
Right.
I'm off the wall.
And be tempted to come off the wall. And so we've been having conversations and even reminding each other, like, look, is that the wall?
Right.
Is that the wall in this season that you should be building? And you know what I've been thinking about since then, Doreen? Yes, we do multiple things. So we both have podcasts, and we're speakers and trainers and authors and coaches, and we do all the things. But we cannot build 6 strong walls at one time.
Yes, yes, yes.
We have to choose.
You have to choose. You have to choose your wall. And so the first question I have for those of you listening in this season of your life, what is your wall where you are doing a great work or you must do a great work and you cannot come down? The other thing Nehemiah said that I love is he said, why would I lower myself
Yes,
to come down to you? Not a
baby.
slam on where that person is, but that's not my wall. Why would I come down off my purpose, my God-given, directive, my charge? Why would I come down off of that? So maybe for some of you, your season right now, your wall is your family, your children, your spouse, your significant other. They require you to be on that wall. For others of you, it's your business. Like, stop playing games, stop messing around, do what you need to do the work. For others of you, maybe it's your finances. Like, the wall of my finances is my money is directing me. Because if you don't, first of all, establish what your wall is, then you're subject to come down for anything.
Yeah.
And then choosing the wall. You can't build 6 of them.
Not at once. You can't truly fortify, right? You can throw some bricks up.
Yes.
You can try to
you can put
place some stones, right? But you have to finish all the masonry work, right? Like, you must cement, like, there is other work that needs to be done. And I think that's what happens. We think we're on the wall, but we're doing very surface level things, especially the things that we think people can see, as opposed to going deeper and really cementing the strategies, the systems. And this is not just professionally, this is personally. If your wall is your family, what is your schedule for your date night with your significant other? Like, is it the once a week and then we do a little overnight trip once a quarter and we do vacation every 6 months? Like, what is it? Because I think that you can put your ladder against a wall and think because you climbed up the ladder that you have built, that you built the wall.
Yes.
And it's not deep.
It's not deep. And it's so especially relevant to entrepreneurs. One of the things I say is that we can get caught up in, multiple streams of income and all these different ways I'm making money. And listen, I am down for the cause. 100% believe in multiple streams of income. But as to your point, Patrice, let's get one stream flowing consistently, predictably, because what many people have is multiple drips, right? Ooh. Nothing is really streaming because you haven't gone deep.
That was good. I just have to say, wait, you're going to have to come on my podcast and say that. That was good. What most people have are multiple drips. Nothing is streaming. Oh, that's good.
Nothing is streaming. And they hop around for a couple of $100 over here, a couple of $1,000, and then they hop over here and they get a couple of $100 or a couple of $1,000. And when is the moment when you get on that wall and you say, this thing right here, I am going to work to go deep and create the systems, the processes, the testing, going through the ebbs and flows, figuring out the tweaks, getting it all set so that I know that every single month, this wall is producing this for me.
Well, what we like to do, though, is a million things a couple times and then get upset that we're not getting the results that we want, as opposed to taking a step back and identifying that wall, like you're saying, and going, what are the 2 or 3 things that I'm going to go all in on this year? And because the truth is, when you get that wall built, Nehemiah eventually left. He eventually left and went back to the kingdom that, the palace that he came from. So if you do the work and get it up and make it sustainable, you can move on. And the other thing is, once you know it, you know it. so now you can replicate that system. I think there's always going to be a learning curve anytime you stretch yourself to learn something new or to build something new in your business, in your life, whatever that is. But once you know it, you know it. And
Yes.
don't you owe it to yourself to know it
Yes.
so you can
Yes.
actually see the results and the benefits?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the other discussions we've had about this wall is, I know people listening right now are like, yes, yes, this is so good. And they're like, I'm going to choose. I'm going to get on my wall. But the question becomes, how do you know if you're on the right wall?
That's good. That's good. I have to say, I'm not sure that you'll ever be 1,000% sure that you're on the right wall. I look for those God winks, but you know that I spend a lot of time in prayer and meditation and really asking for things to be revealed, as I go. I think that everything starts with decision though. Like you have to make a choice based on what facts you have today, what your intuition is telling you. I do believe in following my gut, not all the time, but boy, it has saved me in many, many times. And my gut, I even say that loosely because I really feel, that it's a prompting by the Holy Spirit. You know, but sometimes, on the surface, if it's a business thing, I'm looking at what's the fastest way to the cash. Like, I always say that it's like, what can I do that I already have an unfair competitive advantage in? And if I just focused and put my time into it, looking at the front end, back end, all the way through the experience for my customer, my client, like if I really take it apart and look at it all, like, how do I go all in on this, right? And I actually, like, I've been praying a lot about the wall. Like, I have been praying a lot about it. And it's funny, all around the same time, we both were doing a strategy session at home. Do you remember this? Like, I text you, you text me, and I was like, this is what I'm working on. And we were both like masterminding some stuff. And I literally have been praying, and then I fell asleep. And in my sleep, I saw everything.
Yeah.
And I woke up and just drew it all out. And that is literally guiding a lot of what I'm working on daily. But I've had all these other things that came up too. And I've had to really ask myself, is it worth it to get off the wall? Like, is it worth it? Because there's still a lot of things that show up, shiny monkey syndrome is real. And things will show up and they look good. But am I willing to trade what looks good for what I know can be great if I would focus? Because I believe we have to give God something to bless, right? And our attention and our focus and our time and our effort and our dedication towards, one specific thing for whatever amount of time is required, I just believe is where we're going to see the greatest amount of results. So, I really feel like somebody have to come to me with a wall basically built that I just have to like sprinkle a little something on. But to come at this point and start a whole new wall, like I think that at some point you got to say no, unless you just truly feel that pull, that call, that tug, but not just a little distraction, because whatever that thing is, you have to be willing to go all in on that.
Yes, absolutely. And, we always, in this conversation of the wall, one of the things we've also talked about is the timing, right? Both you and I, we're amazing at what we do. And I think that there is so much more that we're going to experience based on our gifts and talents, like this wall that we're on right now. Once, I think what we'll look back and see is that it was really a stepping stone, right? Right now, it looks like a wall, right? We got to build this thing. But I think once you build it, and then you are given permission to go, that thing that you've already seen that may have looked like a shiny new object that's been in your mind and your heart and your spirit, that next thing, but no, I'm gonna stay on the wall. That next thing is gonna be so much more powerful. And you really have, as you look back, all of these stepping stones that seem like a wall at the beginning because it was so big.
That is really a great illustration for me, because I'm thinking about when I first started my podcast in 2017, wall. Because I was like, I don't know anything about podcasting. Yes, I've been on radio, but I don't do anything but show up and read, my thoughts, or get on the radio and answer people's questions. So the technical piece of it and what happens, I get that. I open my phone, push the little purple circle for Apple Podcasts, and stuff starts playing. But how did they do? There's literally so many steps that I just didn't understand. And I didn't know to call it a wall back then, but I made podcasting my wall for the first year of my podcast. And I was turning other things down to focus on the podcast. I left the Steve Harvey show. I didn't do radio after 6 months of podcasting. I was like, deuces, I'm out of here. Right. So that was my wall, was I'm going to go all in. I didn't monetize it, didn't make anything from it. My first objective was to see if I could go a full year and always have something new to talk about, which for some reason I thought I wouldn't have enough to talk about. I don't know how.
Oh, man. Yeah.
But I went, if I would really enjoy it, and, if I could build community around it, I had all these things that I wanted to do before I would even think about monetizing it. And so you fast forward a year and a half later, when I started to offer programs, masterminds, coaching programs, and different opportunities out of the podcast. And they were successful and they went well. And my initial launches went well and all that stuff. And I look at it now and realize that even some of the things that, like you said, I consider a wall, the podcast was still very much the foundation for me understanding my audience so that I can be on this wall.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? Yeah. So you're right. It's hard. It feels hard and daunting when you don't know what you don't know. You're learning new things. You're piecing it all together. You're searching for the right resources, mentorship, coaching, all of these things. But then once it's clicking and it's up and running and it's like a well-oiled machine, you really do have now permission to go off and do the next thing. But something has to be the first wall that you're going to tackle, or everything else will crumble.
Yes. And I think that there are a lot of people who have some half-built walls. There are a lot of people, they got some bricks laying around over here. If they go out back and look in the yard, they got a few concrete blocks over there. And being able to put that stake in the ground, that podcast was your stake in the ground. My personal transformation, teaching people how to go from information gatherer to action taker, that's the wall. And if you aren't willing to choose to stay on the wall, it will never become a stepping stone. Mm-hmm. It will never become a stepping stone. You will circle that wall. You'll go from the bricks over here in the front yard, back over to the concrete blocks over there in the backyard. You'll just circle this same area, wondering why nothing is being built.
Can I say something about that too? Because if we stick with the initial visual that we had of the haters, the distractors, whatever, the thing that freezes up a lot of people from taking action are those people, the people who are the naysayers, who are, they don't have your back. They're doing everything but validating your dream, your vision, and they're snickering. They're talking about you. They're starting rumors. They're all the things, right? The thing is, if you don't stay on the wall, all you do is prove them right.
Yes.
I'm not doing it for them, but at the time I built Redefining Wealth, when I was starting to build Redefining Wealth, I was being harassed online for 2 years. Yeah. And I think about, what if I had crumbled under that pressure and got off my wall? Yeah. And was left a brick here, you know, a little, I don't even know the name of tools. Like, I want to give y'all some name of tools, but I don't know any. But you know, I left things here and there and never went all in. Then the only thing I would have done was prove that person and the many others right. And I did not do what I do by any means to, you know, I'ma show them. I don't have a I'ma show them spirit. Like, I don't care. But you know, one thing that they can't do, here's the deal. You built the wall strong enough, they could throw rocks from outside the wall. Like, you can hate, like Chris Brown said on one song, he said, how you hating outside the club, right? You can you can hate outside my wall though, right? My income producing,
Right.
chart topping,
Right. Flowing.
right.
Impactful, changing lives, purpose wall.
Yeah. Right. So, you know, for those of you that do, you've stopped doing things because of what people said. Think about the fact that all you're doing is proving them right.
Right.
And you're better than that, especially if God's called you to greater. Why, like Nehemiah said, and I would come down for you for what now?
Right.
No.
Right. And I've actually picked up that language. I can't come down from my wall. And sometimes people be like, okay, is that a no?
Let me tell you,
what does that mean?
I've been using it left and right too, and I know people are like, I don't know what that means, but I guess I respect it. I guess she's just saying no. Like, she could have just said no, but I'm like, oh yeah, I can't come off my wall right now. But thank you so much for the invitation. And they're like, I could just imagine them emailing back like, okay, I guess that's a no. We'll check back later.
Right. You're right. And you know, let's talk a little bit about the confidence to stay on the wall. Because when you talk about the people, the haters, people trying to get you off your wall, sometimes it doesn't take much because we have doubt, we have fear, we're second guessing, it's taking too long, it's not working out, the bills are due, it's not, you know, all of this self-talk. And so we might be on the wall, but as soon as that one person comes in, because of who we are or where our mindset is in that moment, we can pull ourselves off the wall. So how do you speak to doubt? How do you speak to fear? How do you speak to second guessing? So that, and because we do it so that we can blame the person, right? So that it's easy to say, well, that person, but it was really us.
Yeah, because we have to choose.
Right.
Like, we still have to choose to come down.
Right. Yeah. And if that fear and doubt and second guessing is there, what are some things that people can do? Because I believe in daily self-motivation.
Yeah.
So I am listening to a sermon, I'm reading a book, I'm, you know, we share some songs and some clips and, you know, all the time. You know, when I transitioned out of working with Steve Harvey in his Act Like a Success platform, there was ample opportunity for me to second guess. There was ample opportunity for me to be like, okay, what am I doing here? And for more than 2 weeks straight, I listened to Bigger from The Lion King by Beyonce. Every day, all day, every time I got in my car, that song was on repeat. When I picked people up, that's what they heard on repeat. When I went out to, like, if you riding with me, because we have a responsibility to our mindset.
Yes.
We have a responsibility to our spirit. We have a responsibility to our soul. And feeding that helps the detractors not have the type of impact that
they wish they had.
And so for you, when you have moments of doubt, second guessing, what is it that you use to get your mind back where it needs to be?
Well, besides calling Doreen, there's 3 other things that I do regularly. First of all, I prioritize my faith pillar And for me, I always tell people, you don't want to wait to figure out what you believe or who you believe in until you're in the midst of a really difficult time. You want to kind of know so that you can go straight, right, to that greater source or power. And so I prioritize my faith pillar, which means that I don't squeeze it in, I don't fit it in. It is on my calendar, just like this interview was, just like all of my work and money related activities are. My faith pillar is on there in the morning. And so I spend time journaling, praying, meditating, stretching, just sitting in silence, doing a little praise and worship, off tune, but that's okay because the Lord loves me. Like all that, right? I prioritize that every morning. And so that really helps keep me grounded and I read the word. And so I had to learn for myself that when I'm spiritually malnourished, I don't handle things well.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of us in this culture, because we're so about hustle and grind, but I have all these things to do, and my to-do list has 37 things every single day, and I'll get it in if I can, or I'll go to church. Going to church is like not the same. Like, that's cute and it's meeting with the body and it's nice, but you still have to do your own like maintenance throughout the week um in order for you to make it. I heard Mike Todd, I think, say it on a sermon recently. He's like, some of you only eat when you come to church.
Right.
If you ate physical food only every Sunday, maybe every other Sunday, where do you think you would be?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so no snacking on devotionals, because that's what I used to think was faith pillar. I really make time to actually read the word because, first of all, Jesus was a gangster and these stories are great. And I really find different ways to apply them to my life, as we shared about Nehemiah. So that's um, one thing that I really do to stay grounded. Another thing is I invest in therapy. I believe in therapy wholeheartedly. I'm always in somebody's counseling or therapy, and I would like to say not because something's wrong with me because I like maintenance, but no, stuff be wrong with me too. And we all get overwhelmed, exhausted, frustrated, because we're all living. This is a human experience and it comes with so many emotions. And sometimes you need help unpacking, some of this stuff. And I know that I wouldn't even be here had I not sat on someone's couch and dealt with my childhood trauma, number one, right? Because if the doubts that were planted in my mind when I was young had not been kind of plucked out through therapy over the years, especially when I was in my 20s, you guys wouldn't even know. There would be no America's Money Maven. Some other chick would have stole the name, and ran with it, right? I wouldn't be here because I wouldn't have the capacity. I wouldn't have the capacity to love people the way that I do, serve people the way that I do, stand on stages, show up the way that I do. I had to go through therapy. And so it's not an every week thing, but I go regularly, bi-weekly. And then one exercise that's a practical thing that everybody can do right now. If you are feeling really frustrated, worried, anxious, overwhelmed, one thing that I do is take out a sheet of paper. I do it in my journal quite often. And I give it a name because sometimes I'm experiencing a lot of the emotion, but I don't know what it is. Like, have you ever felt like it was just a lot, and because you hadn't really processed yet, all you know is like, I sure wish I could get back in this bed.
Right.
Like, that's all I know. Today, I don't have any grace for today. Maybe I need to wake up tomorrow, right? But it's like, ma'am, it's 10 a.m., so you're gonna have to figure something out, right?
Figure it out.
Yeah. And so I fold it in half and I write down on one side, what if? And the ifs usually represent fears, anything that I'm worried about, or like I said, anxious about. What am I fearing? Let me give it a name. Let me write out exactly what it is. And I will, exhaust it as much as I can possibly think of in that moment. You know, um, I'm going to miss my deadline for this brand partnership, or how is Reagan going to feel if I have to tell her that I'll miss her basketball game, because mommy has to travel, or what, this thing, or something with, my parents, or whatever number of things, right? And then on the other side of the paper, I'll write what is. And the is are the truths about what is actually possible for this experience. And so, for example, with my daughter, if I haven't, it's not anxiety, but one of the reasons I'm an entrepreneur is because I want to go to every single thing that my child ever does, because I didn't have that as a luxury growing up. And so, but the reality is, as a speaker, sometimes travel just doesn't permit that. And so sometimes after I've been on a roll going to like several games, I kind of feel like, oh man, she's gotten used to this, but mommy's back in work mode now, right? So, and I have to tell her, I go to the what is, I did go to the last 6 out of 7 games. The what is she knows that we have a great relationship, that we spend time together quite often, that when mommy's present, I'm present. I really do my best to not even have my phone near me anymore. So the what is, so sometimes those old things, those old limiting beliefs creep back in, and they're not even consistent with your current reality, but they're easy to fall back to because you were that person longer than you've been this person. Right. And so when I write out the what is, it's that little reminder, like, wait a minute, I am really blowing this up. Let me knock it off. That's not going to be hard. Or, again, any number of things. I've applied it in every area of my life. And every time I do what if versus what is, either I go to the word for what does a scripture say about it, or I just remember.
Right.
The last time it panned out the way it needed to pan out, right? And let me tell you, lifesaver. That what if versus what is, wonderful. Mm-hmm.
Powerful. And I so appreciate you sharing those 3 things, because it highlights what I think most people miss when it comes to their mindset, when it comes to doubt and fear and staying out of overwhelm. And a couple of weeks ago, I was teaching at an event, and someone asked me, how did I keep going in my business after my mom passed? So my mom passed in July of 2018, and I had an event that September of 2018. I had coaching programs to show up for. I had a retreat for clients to show up for. And this person said, I listened to your podcast. I'm in the community, and I watched you in grief moments and in work moments. And how did you do that? And one of my answers to him, or my main answer to him, was exactly what you said. We cannot discount what seems like unimportant task. And what I mean by that is personal development, personal growth mindset is a muscle. And you need that muscle to be strong when you need that muscle.
Yes.
Right? You don't need the muscle to be strong when you're not going through anything. You need your default to be, I'm strong in my faith. You need your default to be, I'm strong in remembering who I was and who I am today. You need your muscle to already be strong with exercise and physical fitness and your energy level. And so many times people wait for something to happen, and then they're like, their default is, this ain't never gonna work out. Their default is, I knew they were gonna treat me like this. Their default is, I'm just gonna go to bed. These people, as opposed to, okay, my default is, this happened. What am I going to do about it? Let me pray about it. Let me go take a run. It's a muscle. And people discount affirmations. People will discount meditation. People will, and they'll discount it because it has to be part of your daily activity. I have a morning routine similar to yours with prayer and meditation and praise and worship. I have an evening routine, thank you, Pat Perkins, because I couldn't go to sleep at night. And she helped me create a nighttime routine so that I could sleep.
Oh, I love it.
And this is stuff that you do every day, so that when you need it, it's there.
Yeah, because when that boulder falls on you, you want to be like, you know what? These triceps are ready. These triceps and biceps, they have been worked. They are ready to move it, right, with a swiftness. I don't want to have puny, I don't want to have puny arms, right? And I can't move the weight
Right.
of whatever comes my way. I
Right.
did an IGTV one day, and I was talking about what I see when I'm on the treadmill. And I don't get on the treadmill for the love of being on the treadmill, right? I like to weight train, but I really am not a cardio person. But I understand that that is what builds my heart, right? And so I'm on the treadmill, and I just talked about what I see when I'm on the treadmill. I'm on the treadmill visualizing me standing after I speak to talk to every single person. And Doreen knows this. She's seen it in full effect. Like,
Yes.
I'm that annoying friend that will stand there, talk to every single person. You'd be like, lady, we trying to go to lunch. And I'm still
Right.
like, tell me your story. Wow, what did you learn? What was your aha
Right.
moment, right? In heels, in
Yes.
Spanx if necessary, like whatever it takes. But I see myself in my community. I see myself doing the work. I see 65-year-old Patrice doing the work, if
Yes.
that's what she so chooses to do at that time. So I'm not on the treadmill because I love being on the treadmill. I'm on the treadmill because I have a vision for my life, for my family, for my career. And I feel like it's my responsibility to protect the vessel needed to execute the vision.
Yes.
Right. And so I'm not waiting until I'm 60 to say, you know what, I really want to make it another 5 years. Let me start doing a squat or two. Like, I'm literally investing the time in building my mind, body, spirit, finances, relationships, all of those things every day, because I understand that while I may not need all of it today, immediately in that way, I'm preparing the muscle so that when something goes down, I'm
Right.
ready.
Yes. Yes. And it's in those daily activities. It's in the daily commitments. Wow. Patrice, oh my goodness. What a powerful conversation. Thank you so much.
It's that flew by, right?
Yes, it flew by. It flew by. And if you've been enjoying listening to Patrice and I talk about redefining wealth and creating success and your wall, then I'm excited that Patrice will be joining me at the upcoming Get Radical Women's Conference. I have a group of people, a group of friends that I go to and I look to for advice, for support, for friendship. And these women all have created an amazing life for themselves, an amazing business through the ebbs and flows, through the ups and downs, through the wins, through the lessons. And Patrice is going to be joining me and these other ladies on a panel, and we're going to be talking about all of this on a deeper level.
Oh my gosh. Let me tell you, I don't know what you're going to do. How are you going to shut all of us up, first of all? And two, I mean, the experience of the women that will be on that panel, the gems that are going to drop. I know I'm on the panel, but I can't wait to just be in the room to hear it for myself, because I know the power that each of these women bring to the table. And like, I can't wait to be there. So
Yes. And she's going to be there. We're going to be talking more about this. She's going to be answering your questions. And I'm excited because what I understand is that you have to position yourself to get your breakthrough. This Get Radical Women's Conference is where you position yourself for your breakthrough. It's where you position yourself to figure out what your wall is. It's where you position yourself to figure out how to stay on the wall when your mindset wants to come down, or you've got haters, family, or friends trying to pull you down. And you have to put yourself in the position to win. That's step one. And that happens at the Get Radical Conference coming up March 20th through 22nd. And so, Patrice, to kind of wrap up, the theme of the conference is purpose, freedom, and legacy. And I know you definitely don't have time to go into all of that, but let's just talk about freedom. What does freedom mean to you?
Well, it's funny because my definitions for success, freedom, and wealth are all kind of, I guess, interchangeable. It looks like being able to do what I want when I want, with whom I want, for how long I want.
Yes.
And it looks like the power to say no without regrets.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
That's freedom to me.
The freedom, power to say no without regrets. Doing what you want, when you want, with who you want, for as long as you want. That is freedom. And everyone has access to self-defining what that is for them in those categories and living that life of freedom. So Patrice, before we drop off this, but man, I'm going to go back and listen to this one a few times.
I know, so good.
What final piece of advice do you have for those women, those listeners, even those men who really want to have wealth, a wealthy life?
I would say that it's important you understand that wealth is so much more than money and material possessions. And if you truly want a wealthy life, you have to accept that chasing money is not going to get it. If you're only chasing money, it will elude you, right? As much as you chase, it will run from you. The true definition of wealth is the condition of well-being. You can look that up. It's the 12th century definition. And if you really want to build wealth, then it's kind of like we talked about here. You know, you want to take one area of your life at a time and build the wall, build the infrastructure, go all the way in, and make sure you're fulfilled in each one of those places. Because if not, all you'll do is continue to mismanage finances trying to fill that void.
Yes, yes. And how can people connect with you, Patrice?
So best place to find me is patricewashington.com. That's patricewashington.com. All things about Patrice Washington are there. And my favorite social media hangout is Instagram now. So you can find me at Seek Wisdom PCW. That's Seek Wisdom PCW.
All right. Thank you so much, Patrice. I appreciate you. I love you. And I can't wait to see you at the conference.
Yes, ma'am. I love you too, Dee. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Radical Success Podcast. We would love to hear from you. Be sure to head over to iTunes and subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Until next time, stay radical.